You got the touch.
Greetings, travelers. I'm your host, the C. That Knows a Lot, Dr. Waluigi. While I do my countdown of my favorite 80s movies, I do want to discuss some other movies and TV shows because there are just so many wonderful things I still want to talk about. And while this next movie is on my 80s list, it's just too important to me to not discuss it. Last year, I talked about my top 10 favorite G1 Transformers episodes. And while I still love that series, it's not one that I place highly on my list of favorite Transformers shows. However, despite the show not being one of my all-time favorites, there is one thing from the G1 universe that I hold in high regard, as it introduced me to G1 as well as what I still claim is my all-time favorite animated movie. And with it celebrating its 40th anniversary, I can now gush about this beautifully animated movie from one of the first franchises that I became a fan of. This is my review of the Transformers, the movie.
You got the touch!
After the success of the TV series, Hasbro put this movie into production as quickly as they could, as this movie was not only intended to bridge the gap between seasons 2 and 3, but it was also made so that Hasbro could release its new set of toys based off of the new characters from the movie. Yes, people have continuously pointed out this movie was made to sell more toys, and led to Hasbro making the decision to kill off a ton of characters, including everyone's favorite hero, Optimus Prime. Which actually led to a lot of backlash towards Hasbro's decision, as they discovered that many kids were led out of the theater in tears after the death scene of Optimus. It even led to Hasbro having to change the events of their other popular toy line movie, G.I. Joe, from the main character dying to changing a line so that now he was in a coma. The Transformers movie is one that, upon release, didn't really gain any critical praise, nor was it a box office success, and faded into obscurity. But I feel with the many re-releases, as well as the poor reception older fans have given to many of the live-action movies, it has slowly become a cult hit and is one that many other fans, as well as casual movie viewers, have come to see as one of the best Transformers movies ever made. Like I said when I covered my favorite episodes, I never grew up with the G1 Transformers until I bought the complete series in high school. However, when I was 12 years old, my dad took me and my siblings to Toys R Us, and we were allowed to pick one thing he would buy for us. That's when I came across this movie when the 20th anniversary version was released. Sadly, being the dumb kid I was, I assumed that this was the first Michael Bay movie that got released to DVD rather than theaters. But it was the thing I asked my dad to buy, and when we got home, I put it into the DVD player. And from there, I became enamored with not only more of the G1 Transformer franchise, but this movie became my gateway into discovering more of what the 80s had to offer. So in a way, without this movie, I never would have fallen so hard in love with the 80s and kept looking for more movies and TV shows to watch. Hence why this is not only my favorite animated movie, but the one movie that I hold in the highest regard.
You got the touch!
The movie follows the Autobots preparing to take down the Decepticons and reclaim Cybertron. However, not only do the Autobots lose Optimus Prime in their latest battle, but a new threat looms over their home planet named Unicron, voiced by Orson Welles, as he sends his new minions and their leader Galvatron, voiced by Leonard Nimoy, to destroy the Autobots and the one item that could destroy Unicron, the Matrix of Leadership. Can the Autobots stop Galvatron and his minions from destroying them and potentially taking over the universe? Or will the Matrix be able to stop Unicron and light their darkest hour?
You got the touch!
I feel like whenever I hear people talk about the characters from this franchise, everyone seems to overlook them because they only see the toys and nothing else. And while I will admit that these characters aren't anything new or different, that doesn't mean that these characters should be glossed over and ignored. The older characters are still fun to watch, and remind you why you liked them with their charming personalities like Grimlock and the Dinobots, to having decent new characters that range from being snark and quick-witted like Cup and Hot Rod, voiced by Lionel Sander and Judd Nelson, to the more annoying and honestly really pointless like Wheelie and Blur, voiced by Frank Welker and John Machida Jr. It's these characters that still prove that, despite the film being made to sell toys, they have lasted in the modern day and hold a special place in the hearts of many. Hell, if kids can cry at the death of a truck, then clearly someone is doing something right.
You got the touch!
The three biggest things that make this movie so memorable for me, and many others, aside from the characters, is the animation, the music, and the voice cast. The animation is another great example of what can be done with real people and not that AI computer garbage that for some reason people seem to praise. The animators took a show that had very basic animation and turned this movie into a neon spectacle. Everything from the fight scenes to seeing Unicron emerge from the darkness of space is just so fucking amazing to look at, and it's honestly what more corporate bigheads should try to be copying in the animation industry. Hell, I'd say that this is a movie that should be studied at animation schools for how vibrant the design of the movie is. When it comes to the music, it's a mix of classic hair metal music, but does have a great score with songs like Death of Optimus Prime and Unicron Melody. I especially love the songs like Dare and The Touch that get you pumped up for the battles and big moments during the final battle of Autobot City and the finale. And the slower songs do give a feeling of both suspense and sadness with how well paired they are to something like Optimus's death. I feel like without the music being so good, this movie would fall flat and not be as well known. Especially when this movie includes a song by the master of parody music himself, Weird Al Yankovic. When it comes to the cast of this movie, I do feel like no other actors could have played these characters. Obviously, you have the returning cast members from the show, but the celebrities they got put their all into the characters they were given. I love Robert Stack as the second-in-command of the Autobots, Ultra Magnus, who is willing to take up the mantle of leader after Optimus dies. And even more silly characters like Wreck-Gar, voiced by Eric Idle, are a fun ally that I welcomed right away with his silly way of speaking. But the best part of the movie are the villains. I love Leonard Nimoy as Galvatron for how he is more threatening than Megatron, but he still acts like the megalomaniac that kids back then, and even myself, have come to know. However, Unicron is still, in my opinion, one of the best 80s villains of all time due to the performance by the Lord of Filmmaking himself, Orson Welles. He gives this commanding, threatening, yet calm voice that sounds like you're talking to a god. It's a performance that's always stuck with me, and no one else has ever been able to top it. Some people have come close, but Orson Welles is still the best Unicron, and so far, no one has been able to top him as this monstrous godlike being from the Transformers universe. And with this being his last recorded performance, it is one that will send you to the stars in terror.
You got the touch!
While I could talk about some of the more annoying aspects of the movie or its many animation errors, I feel like enough people have talked about those that it would feel repetitive, and I want to talk instead about an issue I've had whenever this movie is brought up in terms of criticism. I watch a lot of reviews in my off time or when I'm busy working on making scripts for new episodes, and one criticism I can't stand whenever people bring this movie up is that it was made to sell toys. To me, this is an infuriating criticism because it basically sounds like those critics are saying that because it was made to sell toys, that it has no value as a movie, and you don't have to take it as seriously as other movies. I, on the other hand, disagree with that criticism because every movie has value. No matter how good or bad a movie is, they all deserve to be treated with some level of respect. And I feel like when criticisms like this pop up, it just frustrates me because it makes you sound like you're saying this movie had no effort put into it. Which is complete and utter bullshit with how amazing the animation and writing are. I'm not saying that you can't have an opinion about the quality of this movie, but that's the one type of criticism I wish people would stop using, as it makes people sound like because this movie is made to do something specific rather than tell a good story, you don't have to care. And that is a disservice to this and any other movie that gets made.
You got the touch!
If I haven't made it clear by now, I love the hell out of this movie. The animation is phenomenal, the music is both upbeat and somber, and the characters are still wonderful to watch. I do think that this movie might not be for everyone, as people aren't fans of this kind of movie where the story takes a back seat to the action and comedic moments. Plus, this is a continuation of the TV series, so you'd have to know at least the basics of the franchise. But this isn't a bad place to start if you decide to watch it without having seen the original series. As I was one of those kids who saw this first, then the show. Overall, I give the Transformers the movie a 10 out of 10. It's still a great animated spectacle, even if there are a few hiccups sprinkled throughout the movie. Thanks for watching, I'm Dr. Waluigi, and remember, don't judge a book by its cover, cause you'll never know what's inside. Good night, everyone.
You got the touch!